All right, we can go ahead and get started here. Okay, so this is kind of a hefty webinar and activity, so just bear with us. It should be super fun, but it's kind of unique because there are two different aspects, the 3D printer and then Tinkercad and designing a printing top, or like a spinning top that the kids get to take home. But we do have a few housekeeping items that I want to run through before we run through the lab. So I'm going to share my screen and pull up a Word document so you guys can follow along. I will email all of this after too, and this is recording currently, so we'll have all of those resources for you guys to look back on. But let me go ahead and share my screen.
Okay.
Okay. Can everyone see the Word document? Okay. So first, with volunteers, we are super excited. Verizon is continuing the volunteer efforts. However, we're not sure if we'll have a master list, meaning hopefully this month I can let you know if you have, say, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon or 2 in the morning. But they did switch to a new system that is mostly automated, so they're still working out how to get me that list. So hopefully I can let you know, but we are expecting volunteers for most sessions in most of the locations. We got a lot of feedback from you guys saying that the volunteers were great last month and that they had signed up for a lot of future dates, so that is fantastic. And we had some questions about parents volunteering. Unfortunately, parents cannot volunteer, so I just want to get that out there for you guys. And then moving on to shipments for this month that we shipped mostly to your guys' homes. So let me know if you liked that. Any feedback would be great if you liked that or if you didn't, because we could continue that moving forward. But if you are one of the new 18 stores, the new locations for this year, you were shipped a 3D printer, red filament, USB drive. So each student leaves with a USB drive. That's important. They will take their the top they design on Tinkercad home on that USB drive. And then mouse pads and a bag of pre-printed tops. So you might have to pull the whole printer out to look for those pre-printed tops. We kind of hid them down in the middle because that was the only place for them to fit without sending like an extra shipment. And then also a cheat sheet. We thought this might be useful to keep on hand. And if we aren't getting a quick response in the Google Hangout or anything, that just has some of the passwords and kind of the protocol for the day, just to make sure you've hit everything. So we thought that might be a resource that a few of you might like to use. And if you don't use it, that's great. If you use it, fantastic. And if you're one of the previous stores, old stores, not really old stores, but you've run the lab previously, then just red filament, USB drives, mouse pads, pre-printed tops, and the cheat sheet as well. So this lab, the students again leave with the USB and the pre-printed top. So I expect them flying around probably the store once you hand them out, kids spinning them all over the place. Should be fun to have that going. Okay, so this lab, again, the students take it home and the pre-printed top. So there's 2 takeaways. That's important. We also are going to get you guys a PowerPoint slide with just maybe 4 or 5 slides that kind of run through the activity. We saw this as an opportunity. We know a few of our instructors have been making their own and sharing them, and it's been fabulous. So we're kind of taking that and running with it. So the PowerPoint, we'll send it to you. Verizon's kind of approving the branding and making sure they're okay with it right now. So hopefully early next week you guys can see it.
Is it warm enough for you upstairs?
That's great. And if not, that's great too. We will have the video embedded for you. So hopefully that'll help. And then it'll be easier to understand when I send it and you guys can see and check it out if you would like to utilize it. And if not, that's totally cool too. Sometimes those monitors are difficult to work, so I totally understand if that is a deterrent for not using it. Also, this lab, it's super important to practice with Tinkercad. I'm sure Justin will go over it, and I also have created a how-to guide with a step-by-step on designing the tippy top. So it really just goes into everything you need to know to help the students, which is huge. I foresee some of the younger students maybe having issues with dragging, clicking, and getting the size right. So if you guys can really practice and make sure you kind of know the process forward and backward and how to help them, it'll make your day go by much faster, or I guess more relaxed, and help the kids have a great experience as well. I also have prepared a document on preparing the sample print. So during each session, you'll play the video, and then you're going to start your 3D printer with a sample print they should take about 40 minutes so the students can see the actual 3D printer working. There's a horse, a dog, and an octopus you can print for the session, so the students see that. You'll start it at the beginning of the session, and then it will finish about the time you guys finish up, which is fantastic for them to see the actual process and how the printer went through. So it's important also, don't let the kids touch the printer. The extruder gets to about 215 degrees Celsius, and I have burned my hands many times, accidentally like raising my hand up under it or anything like that. So that's super important safety here. I have a few little like marks on my hands, but we definitely don't want kids putting their hands inside that printer. When you play with it, you can pre-print at your house, and I suggest that so you know how it works beforehand and making sure you can troubleshoot there at the store, but you'll see how hot it gets. And then also a recording of the webinar, and if you need to review anything, this lab I think requires a little more preparation just to make sure everything is going to run smoothly. So some tips. We've had some great store relationships, or some of our instructors creating just a fabulous relationship with the store manager that really helps them. They get in earlier and are super nice, no issues. So if you guys can do this, that is super great. We've just seen that it really helps to establish a relationship with the store manager or whoever's normally there while you're there. They are normally super friendly and super excited, so that effort can go a long way, I think, on both sides. And then there's a link to continue promoting the Facebook page, which we've seen grow quite a bit and we're really excited about. And then looking forward to, oh, actually, I will flip this over to Brianna now. Sorry, I kind of got on a roll here. So Brianna, if you want to cover.
Yeah, can everyone hear me? Okay, so let me share my screen real quick. Okay, so just to finish going over some of the housekeeping things. Also with the
Hey, Brianna, you're muted.
Facebook, we are going to be promoting the Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
That also could have been my bad. My computer was also muted, so that could have just been me.
So just to finish going over the housekeeping things, with the Facebook, we are also going to be promoting the lowest 18 store location starting next week, going Monday through Friday. Hopefully that'll help increase registration as it did last month. And then for the March shipments, you did get one of the WEO kits in your November shipments, and it's in a small red box, so you can start practicing with that. We plan to ship the remaining 15 to you beginning of March. So let us know if you want it to your home or to the store by February 27th. And for that lab, the students won't be taking home the kits, so each location will only get 15. And then also looking forward to that lab. Use your instructor phone to practice because that lab is also pretty intensive. So now we'll switch it over to Justin to go over 3D printing.
Hey guys, everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, can you hear me now? All right, so with the 3D printing, I'll share my screen in a couple of minutes, but the biggest, most important thing is to practice with it, the Tinkercad. Hooking up the 3D printer isn't the hardest thing in the world. It's really 2 wires. Getting it to sync to your computer can sometimes be tricky. There's nothing you have to do. It just sometimes will lose its connection. And the best thing that I've found is in between each session, instead of just leaving it leaving the 3D printer on, turning it on and then turning it off and turning it back on has really helped me to get it reconnected. So if it says it's offline, which you might see a bunch of times, make sure that you just, you shut it down, give it a few minutes, shut it back on, and it should go online again. Because as you're not touching it and the computer goes to sleep, you'll lose that connection. So that's just one way of getting it back connected. And as far as Tinkercad is concerned, I teach third grade. I've been doing it with my third grade students. It is not easy. There's a lot to it with how you have to move all the shapes and resize shapes and rotate. And it is very difficult. So the more you know about it, the better off your students are going to be with it so that you can help them, especially with the younger kids that have never done this before. So I just to make your own life easier, I would practice before you go there, not this weekend, but next weekend. All right, I'm going to share my screen with you to go through the guide real quick, and then I'll show you a couple of things on Tinkercad and some helpful hints that I've come across. All right, so in your facilitator guide, obviously you start off with introducing yourself. You show the video like we always do. One thing that I might suggest doing is giving out the 3D, the tops that are pre-made before you let them do anything on Tinkercad, because this can build a background knowledge for them of what a top should look like. Show them how there's a stem on them, show them how there's a part that actually spins. That just really helps them to have a visual inside of their head for when they're designing, and they'll know what parts are needed, because like I said, the design can be difficult at times. So before you let them go on the computer, I would definitely let them spin them, touch them, feel them, just to build that background knowledge up. Once they're on Tinkercad, so it should come to a spot where you have your Tinkercad. When you go to sign in, on mine, I have the options, because I've done this before, of my lab, but you simply put the lab in vzlab.nyc and whatever you guys are, and you hit next. The password should be on the cheat sheet that you get, but I believe it's Verizon 1234, and you sign in. Once you're in, if you're one of the old people like us, you might have some old designs that students have done from a long time ago. These are all students that did them 9 months ago, okay? But there also should be the tippy top design that is a functioning top. So if you wanted to also, you could show them what that looks like. When you click on it, this is one that's already made. If you wanted to change it, you would go to Tinker this, and that would change it. But instead of doing that, they'll be creating their new design. So if you look up top, you have create new design. When you click on it, it should open up your workspace. Now, move this out of the way. Okay. In the workspace, this is your work plane. So this is like that graph paper that they're going to build everything on. One of the things that you want to show them is how we can change how you look. So if you want to look at something from the front, a little bit from the top, you use this cube on the top left, and that will help you see all the different angles. And this is going to be very important, because when they build the stem and they want to put whatever the spinning part is on top of it, it'll look like on certain angles that it's touching. And then when you spin it to another angle, it'll be, 3 inches away from it. So it's just something that you really have to be aware of and deal with the frustration. So a lot of your job is strictly a facilitator on this, and you are constantly monitoring to help them get to certain places. Always give them the chance to do it, because you'll be surprised at how often they can figure it out on their own. But always try to, let them say, all right, try this. And then if you need to, help them out a little bit. So one of the big things that you want to do is you want them to build the top from the stem on the bottom and build it up, because when the 3D printer prints, if you do it any other way, it'll build on a base, and when it builds on that base, and if the spinning part is supposed to be right coming off that base, it might not spin as well. So you can start it from there. Okay. So over on your right hand side, you'll see that you have all your different shapes and everything. Typically, if you're going to build a base, you're going to use a cylinder, and you simply drag it out. Now, it looks like it's in the middle, so we could check it out. The front view shows you, okay, good, you're on the ground. Okay, so you know you're going to build off your plate. There are pieces here. Now, the cone is there to bring you up or bring you down, below grade or above grade. So right now, this wouldn't work if you wanted to print it because it's not actually touching the ground. You're going to have some issues there. So you want to make sure that whatever they're building, it starts at 0 so that it's touching the ground. And as you can see, just even with me doing it, using a trackpad, which is a lot harder, but kids are actually better with trackpads now, but using the mouse might make it a little bit easier. But you can see where a frustration level can very easily come in. Then you have your resizing, where you can make it a little bit wider, you can make it a little bit skinnier. And finally, if you want to make it taller, it's the square on top, okay? And that'll bring you up and down. Going through all of these things is important because it is confusing. There's a lot going on right here that the students do have difficulty with. So all of your different views, if you want to look at it from the top, you can look at it from the sides, the back, okay? And this is good to keep looking at it to make sure that you are building it the way you want to, okay? And those pieces are, so now if you wanted to build the part that spins, so let's just say you want to make it a cone. So you drag it out, and as you can tell when you drag it out, it's right next to it. So the important part here is that the students realize that they have to lift it up, then bring it over. So if you want to bring it over, you have to make sure it's on top. When they touch each other, they do go into one another. So you can see that just like that. So now I know it's touching, but it might not be the way that I want it. So I look at the top, I can still see parts of it that I might not like. So hold on. I look at the front, I look at the sides, I can decide how I want to move it to make sure it's on there. Now, one of the things that is important in the session guide is the sizing of all this, but something that I've learned that is helpful is there is a group button up top here. So if you hold down the shift and you click on both of them, they both become selected, and when you group it, it all becomes one shape now. So instead of sizing different pieces, you can size the whole thing that you just made. So that's just another helpful hint to teach the students, and if they don't like it, all they have to do is ungroup it, and then you have your pieces again, okay? Other helpful hints here is, hold on, looking at it, there's another button. So if you do that shift again and you get both your shapes, there is an align button that will allow you to align it in different ways. So this one is aligning it going up and down. So if I wanted it at certain spots, you can move it there, okay? If I don't want to align it, you just take it off. But it'll move it so that it's kind of a lot, like you're not gauging it so much. It's doing it for you. So if you want to click it, and then you're aligned a little bit better. So playing with the grouping and playing with the alignment will be something that will help you a lot. So like right now, if I like how that's starting to go, you'll hold down your shift, and I'll get both pieces. I can group it. And then I have this top that I now can move without it being ungrouped. And then you can change the size to make sure it's within the parameters that are set. Now, another thing that I've noticed with the 3D printing is just using the printers that we have. Let's just say that this was out of parameter, okay? And we were worried about it not fitting in the 3D printer. On the 3D printers, once you upload them to MakerBot, you can change the scaling of them inside of there. So that's something that you can tell them if they go to a different 3D printer and it's too big for that build plate. You could say, okay, well, make sure that when you go there, you look at the scaling that'll make it within its range. So that's something that, you know, if they do make a mistake on, there are ways around it. So, I mean, that's really building the top inside of Tinkercad. Again, it just takes a lot of practice because this, you know, took me a couple seconds, but it's not a great top. If you really want to build a great top, you have to be able to be confident with all of the different maneuvers and everything else in here, and just keep looking to make sure that you're lined up the right way that you want, from the top, from the sides, and all different angles. There will be a level of frustration with the students, but again, if you show them the align, show them the grouping, it'll make life a lot easier, and they'll be able to make their top a lot better. And if they want to make any changes, they just ungroup it. So let me just pause for a second before I show you saving. Are there any questions on any pieces of this? Let's go to the chat.
Hey, this is Natalie. The only thing I saw a question-wise that I don't know is, can you flip it even if they build it upside down? I think we really just need to stress at the beginning that the stem goes first.
Yeah.
Because it gets tricky and might confuse. Maybe I missed that though.
Yeah. No, I haven't played with that, but let's just say let me just group it so I know it's one shape, and then if I flip. Yeah, so you could just flip. There's a flip button in the top right. So if it's all one shape, you can flip it either way that you want. So just in case they do it wrong, you could just flip it in the end. So it's not even a big deal. But yeah, you want to build it because when it builds, you want that plate on the bottom, and you want it to build upwards. And then you'll have your sharp point at the top to spin on, as opposed to it being flat because it built on the plate. So that's the biggest reason why you want to do that. Okay. Any other questions on how to build? Again, I can't stress enough that you really try and play with this, because I did that, like I said, in 10 seconds, but I've been doing it for a while now, and it still isn't even a great top, but it just takes time.
I'll go ahead and jump in here. Again, this is recorded, so you guys can rewatch what Justin has gone through, but I also have typed out like a step-by-step detailed process on how to make this happen, and like the best tips too. So if you prefer to print that out and follow that way, that's great. Either tool I think is really going to help. But again, it's important to practice and know this. And then also I'll go ahead and answer, are we printing 8 to 10 tops for each session? No. We, in Indianapolis, Brianna and I had printed all of the tops and sent them pre-printed to you guys, which was super fun. One store set took about 37 hours. So we've been working on it since about November, I think. So you're only printing one of the sample, so either the dog, the horse, or the octopus for each session, just so students can see how the printer works and how it extrudes and the filament and everything like that. But they are leaving with a pre-printed top. So we are not printing their own tops. We give them the USB and help them put the file on the USB to then take maybe to a UPS store or a library. The PowerPoint that I'm going to send you guys has kind of the next steps on where they can print it themselves if they are interested in doing that. So I'll flip it back to Justin now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, the biggest thing here is it's a lot of exploration. Like they're going to play with Tinkercad and try to learn the design here. It's going to take them some time just to get, the dragging down, especially if they've never done it before. So again, like your major job after you've demoed it and you've built that little bit of background knowledge is to be there for them. You're going to be their safety net when they get a little bit too frustrated. But again, when you're teaching, frustration is good. They're supposed to get a little frustrated. It makes it all worthwhile in the end. So just make sure that they don't get to the level of over frustration, but let them really try things. Let them go for it. And, stress that if you make a mistake, it's okay. You delete it and you start it over again. There is no big deal. Yeah. And you gauge your students the way you would in the classroom. So if you have kids that finish early and they have a legitimate top, they met the criteria that we're going to tell them that we want them to do, of course they can make another one. Make sure they save the first one, and then they, save whatever they want from then on. Okay, they can try different things. So they make a generic top. Allow them to, try something a little bit harder. Maybe put a little bit more, detail into it. So yeah, definitely you can let them go. So I'm going to show you how to save. So you don't say, Tinkercad saves everything all on its own. You don't have to hit save. So like if I were to X out of this, my top would be saved here. And I'd be able to tinker it later. but we don't want to save it on Tinkercad because they're not going to be able to log in to this at home or wherever they're going to try to 3D print their top. So what you're going to want to do is there is the export button in the top right once they have their design done. So you click on the export button. Hold on, let me get rid of the chat so you can see. And then you're going to want to download. You're not 3D printing. You're going to want to download everything in the design, okay? And you're going to want to choose for 3D print and STL file. It'll come up as the weird name, so you might want to tell them to actually change their name. I should have went over that. So let me cancel that. So up here, they always have really weird names on Tinkercad for whatever reason. So you would change it to their name or whatever they want to make it, okay? So make sure that they have that. Like I said, export, you choose .stl because that's the file that we use. And then you save the file according into their USB. I think it just saved it into my downloads, but you make sure you just change the file destination to the USB that they will be receiving and taking home. But yeah, they can keep going. If they finish early, let them design something else. Let them keep practicing with it. That's how they're going to learn how to do it. Just like I said, you guys should really practice with it. Gives them the time to practice with it as well. And that's saving it, and then they eject their flash drive, and that's that. So how do I stop sharing?
There should be maybe on the top of your screen, like a button to stop sharing. Are you saying stop sharing your screen? Were you asking?
Yeah, I was saying how to, yeah.
Maybe, or I think Brandon and I can probably force you to stop sharing it.
Force me out.
Force you out? All right. Brianna, are you able to do that?
I'm checking right now if I could do that. Let me see.
Or just start sharing your screen? Oh, I think I know how to do it. Okay. Do we have any other questions? I'm going to try to pull up the chat. It just went away from my screen. But the printers sent to the new locations are all brand new, but I do suggest and highly emphasize that you practice one of those demo prints on the Google Drive. To do that, you will need to download MakerBot, print to your desktop to one of the laptop computers, so you can export it to the correct printer. I will include instructions on step-by-step how to do that in the recap email as well. Yes, Cami, you really want to practice at home. We had some last-minute issues with some instructors last year. Yeah, it makes life so much easier for you and us, I promise, to just put a little work in ahead of time and practice so you guys feel comfortable. And just to clarify the password, yes, so the login for Tinkercad for each location, so you're going to have all 10 students say here, I love using Indianapolis as an example because we're here. So in the Indianapolis location, 10 a.m., 10:30 start, all students are going to open Tinkercad and log in to the vzlab.indy@gmail.com. And the password is going to be lowercase Verizon 1234. And will the hotspot work for running 8 PCs? You guys can use the tablets. There should be 2 to 3 tablets per location that have a data plan, and the phones as well. So utilize those if the store, the internet goes in and out of the store, you want a more established connection. So MakerBot only needs to be installed on one computer, correct? Yours. On the instructor laptop, and then you guys can print if you prefer from the USB or from your laptop to the MakerBot, the actual 3D printer. I would suggest reading through the instructor guide quite a bit and just getting really familiar with the flow of the lab and how everything's going to run before you dive in right away. Let's see if I have any other questions or any, Brianna, that I haven't.
There was one from Scott about saving as an STL file. They won't be able to go back and modify it in Tinkercad. So should they save like another version of it as a Tinkercad if they wanted to modify it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. They might be able to email a file if there might be another option. I'm not sure on that, but I can check. Scott, that's a great question. Also, you guys can emphasize that Tinkercad is free. It's a free account. Students can continue learning and playing and building at home. But I'll look into how we would get them a file to allow them to modify. I think there's an option that you can send like an email with the file modified, but I'm not positive yet. Again, just going through this, you're not printing the actual tops for the students. You are only printing one, like the little dog for the first session, maybe the octopus for the second, and the horse for the third, and then or you can print 4 dogs. It's really up to you guys. But we pre-printed tops, so they get to leave with a top. In our first year, 3 years ago, we did try to work through printing tops for each student, their own top, and they take about 40 minutes per top. And it took all day. It ruined other student sessions later on, and it was just kind of a logistical nightmare. So we're not able to run the lab that way. So that's why we pre-print the tops and then allow them to take a USB home. It's a really cool USB. You flip out. I should have brought one to show you. It can be a bit difficult. So if you get the USBs and you're like, what the heck is this? It's just, I don't know the technical term, but it's just the inside part of the USB. So you're going to flip the little, there's a groove and there's a little like slice that's higher. On the outside, you're going to flip it and it's going to come out of the card. That's probably not the best way to explain it. And we have the files for printing the animals, yes, on the Google Drive. So when you get into the Google Drive, that should be on the like VZ lab email, you will get to the file on the left shared with me, and then we have a whole file, the Verizon Innovative Learning Labs, and then everything is under the 3D printing folder. So in that folder, I will add the how-to guides, the PowerPoints, the instructor guide, and the print files are in there currently. Let's see. Is there anything I am missing, Brianna, you think, or anyone else have any questions currently?
Nothing that I can see.
Yeah. Yes, Cami. Super long process. We had about 6 printers at one time running in a little storage area in our headquarters, and about 3 of them decided to stop working because they're older. So I'm pretty sure on my resume I can add like 3D printer mechanic and engineer, because we spent so much time down there messing with them. But they're cool. So it was interesting to see and learn about that. And do we ship the 3D printers back after the session? No. We are planning on using them next year, hopefully. So keep them. You could take them home if you'd like to store them at home for next year or to practice more. But it's just like everything else, it's kind of going to stay, and we're going to repurpose it for next year. So just for an example, for the new 18 stores, you guys got a new printer this year, but the previous locations are using the same printer they've had, they used for last year. So How much do these printers cost? Right about $1,300 for the MakerBot Replicator Mini, I believe. How many pre-printed tops were we supposed to have? Yeah, anywhere from 35 to 40 printed tops. Perfect. Okay. Well done. Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Yes, we hope to make it easier. And if you guys ever have suggestions on how we can run these better for you guys, or anything else we can do on our end to make it easier on you guys or more clear, let us know. We are happy to do so. I'm guessing there's YouTube videos to help set up. Yes, absolutely. That is a great resource. I learned how to use Tinkercad off YouTube. So that is a fantastic resource. There are a bunch of videos for setting up the MakerBot as well. Their quick start guide that we suggest in the instructor guide is really helpful too. But if you ever run into an issue, just watching a YouTube video is obviously super helpful. Are they loud? No, they're not that loud. It'll sound kind of like a constant nibbling, maybe. It's just a constant, like, small sound. It's moving around, but it's not that loud by any means. It might smell the filament. Sometimes it's a PLA filament, and sometimes it can smell like plastic printing. So you might have students say that it smells. Sometimes it smells like syrup, and sometimes it smells like that room we had the printers running in smelled different, like every few days from the printing. I don't know if it was the different colors or what it was, but be ready for that. Let's see, can I make bacon on it? I don't know.
Probably gets hot enough.
Yeah. Just it's the part that gets really hot is the extruder, is the little like just the small end part where the filament actually comes out. Everything else you can touch, but I wouldn't really suggest that. Where should I place the printer? There's one table, which is their workspace. Okay, that's interesting. Great question. I would not suggest putting it on a chair because it's going to move. So something stable, if you have to, the floor, and the students can get down kind of at
No,
the
the black
level.
boxes are a good idea.
Yep, yes, our crates, the big crates, you could definitely put on top of that. That is definitely sturdy enough. Yeah, but make sure it's not like right next to a student where they could easily stick their hand in and touch the filament printing, because that's how they're gonna get burned, and that would not be good. Again, I've seen some, and I've talked to a few of you about internet. If ironically, the Verizon store, the connection is not great, first ask for their private, what they use for the store, like the password protected one. They should be able to give that to you. If not, and that's not working great, again, the tablets, 2 to 3 of the tablets have data, or the phones you can set up as a mobile hotspot. Only the ones that have data, all the phones have data plans, but only 2 to 3 of the tablets do. And you'll see on the back, there should be a little label with like check data. That's how you'll know. You can set it up that way. Again, I want to review the survey. Have maybe a few phones out too if you're using them as a hotspot. You can kind of pass them around to the students. They don't all need to be filling out the survey at once. So that's one way. Or you can log on the computers. You can put the survey up for them as well. If you go to that Gmail, that email that I sent a while ago, a few of them have the survey link in it. So you could always click and open that for them if you wanted to keep it just all on the laptops. Okay. Anything else from anyone? Indie Store is a bit, yeah, totally fine to use a hotspot, guys. Should make life easier, and that's what we're looking to do here. We don't need internet connection or failing internet connections with this lab. It's a pretty important piece. And okay, any last remarks before we close this session up? Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Mercedes. Yay. Oh, yeah, they may teach you. I learn something new every time at these labs, and I do love it. Some of them I can imagine will want the mice, and some won't. So that's really up to you guys, however you want to run that. But again, you guys have creative freedom here. If you, on quite a few things, if you want to run or add in another aspect or have them design something else, if there's extra time, you guys are the professionals and the teachers here. So feel free to incorporate your own style. All right, well, enjoy the rest of the evening, everyone, or afternoon for our West Coast folks. And I will be sending the recap email with the recording and the how-to guides and all the stuff, everything you need, probably tomorrow morning. They take a while to upload, so I'll let it upload overnight and then get that to you guys so you can practice. All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.